Everybody, it's Fred. It's Saturday, June 7th. Pretty obvious that I'm not back on trail. I'm here in Boise, Idaho, my home, having come off trail last Saturday, June 1st. In the evening, after hitching from Tehachapi Willow Road back into Tehachapi. That day, we had started at Tyler Creek Canyon Campground, and after a pretty strenuous climb, well over 2,000 feet, over a couple of ridges, climbed to the top of the ridge, and then descended into the wind farms to Tehachapi Willow Road, and was fortunate enough to catch a quick ride into Tehachapi with Trail Angel Betty, and she dropped me off at the Ranch Motel on Curry Street in Tehachapi. Thankfully, they had an open room, and got a room with those kind folks just before a deluge, a thunderstorm. Yeah, unfortunately, they were really struggling and getting their roof fixed at the time, and had to switch rooms because of leaky roof. But all in all, I would recommend anyone getting a room there. I paid for a single $65 for a night, which was pretty reasonable. Had a good hot shower, good bed. Just down the street is Jake's Steakhouse on Curry Street, not even a block and a half, and walked down there in my rain suit because it was pouring rain, and managed to get a great meal after eating cold food for a couple days because I'd run out of fuel after Hikertown. But anyway, came off trail that evening, Saturday evening. Was able to get out of the weather. The next morning was Sunday. Did laundry at Wash Tub Laundry, which is all centered around Curry Street, and which is very nicely walkable. I had a breakfast at Conan's, K-O-H-N-E-N's Bakery on Main Street, just in the same general area, which was, wow, fabulous. My wife Diane was flying in that afternoon, and so I killed time and basically checked out of the motel, got the laundry done, got breakfast, and then walked over to the Tehachapi Municipal Airport, where there is a park area where they allow pilots and PCT hikers in season to camp for $5 a night. They've got porta potties there. It's a great park-like setting, green grass, picnic tables. It really is quite fabulous. There was Trail Angel Nick, who was basically driving hikers all over town for about 4 hours that Saturday. I basically walked out to the parking lot and was going to walk to the Fairfield where Diane and I were going to stay the night, and Nick basically gave me a ride and then gave a bunch of other people rides about town. So the folks at the Fairfield Inn let me check in early and waited for Diane there. So some choices have got to be made. I came off trail basically because I had some questions about how to proceed from here. And what I've done is Diane and I discussed things, and we drove to Kennedy Meadows from Tehachapi. It was about an hour and a half drive, and I wanted to talk to the folks at Triple Crown Outfitters about their recommendations and about whether they thought they would have access to needed gear in about 2 weeks hiking time, or whether I would need to gain gear before getting to Kennedy Meadows. I spoke to Yogi at Triple Crown Outfitters, and she really had a list of things that you really need before starting the Sierra. Number one is They absolutely will have gear, likely through the middle of July. They'll quit ordering around the middle of July, as they think that's when the bubble will have kind of finished there. But they'll have crampons, ice axes, micro spikes. If you showed up there with just your backpack and your summer gear, they have everything there that you'll need to get through the Sierra. They go through a list of the things you've got to have when you enter the Sierra. Number one's a bear canister. Number two are traction devices. Right now, crampons are a must, as well as micro spikes, but the crampons are a big must, and an ice axe. Number two, you need dry bag for your sleeping bag and for your clothing, because things are going to get wet. Number two, if you've got a good sleeping bag and it's largely kept you warm, it's not going to likely keep you warm at 10,000 feet and in the snow. They're recommending a sleeping bag liner, and I've acquired those that today at the REI garage sale. And number two, you're going to need a good pair of gloves. It's unlikely that you made it through San Jacinto, the Gorgonio Wilderness, and Baden-Powell without gloves, but you're going to need gloves. I'm thinking about getting some overglove mittens just to keep those from getting too wet. You're going to need a rain jacket and pants, and I can't imagine you having gotten this far without rain pants and jackets, given how wet it's been so far. And Yogi's recommending a heavier base layer than you came through the desert with. That's something I'm acquiring now. Also, extra socks. I'm a huge, darn tough socks guy myself, and so I'm going to be getting some extra socks. Number two, bug season is about to start. It's wet, incredibly wet at the lower altitudes, and so a DEET and a head net. I've already got a head net, and so we'll proceed that way. Number two, you really should have paper maps. We've all got gut hooks, but heaven forbid you run out of battery power and lose your maps. And so paper maps are a real need. And since I ran out of fuel at least once on this trip so far, better have extra fuel, or at least enough fuel to get you through each resupply point. And the other thing is, apparently the National Park Rangers, remember, you're going to be going through Sequoia, you're going to be going through Kings Canyon, you're going to be going through Yosemite National Parks. They're turning people back without printed permits. And so you're going to need a printed permit, and I recommend having a printed permit of your state fire and stove for California. I printed my permit on one facing page, and I rolled that over and printed my fire permit on the opposite side. As of May 31, the snow conditions at Kennedy Meadows, the first snow was at mile 721.3 at 9,513 feet, and there was deep snow above 10,000 feet. They reported that the slushy snow started around 10 a.m. and that the ground was 100% snow covered above 10,000 feet. Campsites below 10,000 feet are snow free, but from YouTube videos I've seen, everything's wet, and just because it says snow free doesn't mean it's dry snow free. Apparently a hiker slipped and self-arrested once, and so they have a list for a YouTube video on their website. That's Triple Crown Outfitters for self-arresting instruction. Self-arresting is different with microspikes and crampons. I was trained at National Outdoor Leadership School in self-arrest, but that was without, and so I've had to pay particular attention to that. So I've gone through some options and trying to decide how I'm going to proceed. One option is go ahead and send my bear canister to Grumpy Bears at Kennedy Meadows, and go to Walker Pass in about a week's time and begin going through the Sierra then. At the same time, sending a box to Vermilion Valley for resupply there. But basically pulling out of here in about a week and seeing what we've got to do from there. Number two, the other option would be to wait until mid-July and go back again at Walker Pass, hike up to Kennedy Meadows, or even just start at Kennedy Meadows and hike north from there. Another option would be to flip to Ashland, Oregon and hike Oregon, and do that in about 3 weeks' time. I have a doctor's appointment and visit then, and on the 19th, and by walking Oregon, that would allow the Sierra to thaw out even more and would allow me to get back into condition after having been off for a time, which I'm kind of worried about. And so that would be a viable option. The other option would be to just punch it out for the year and start again next year when hopefully conditions are a little better and perhaps a little safer. But I think it really paid off to go and visit Yogi, talk to them, and see what options they had available. So at present, again, you need a printed permit after Kennedy Meadows, or they're going to turn you back. Number two, you're going to need traction devices and ice axe. And number three, the bugs are going to start getting bad. And number four, you're going to need to buff up your winter clothing because basically it's winter conditions above 10,000 feet. So we'll let you know what's going on more, talk about more, and we'll be letting you know what's going on.